The Homecoming in The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. Now, when heroes come home, often things are not well, and there are things that they have to fix. The trees were the worst loss and damage, for they had been cut down recklessly, far and wide over the Shire, and Sam grieved over this more than anything else. For one thing, the hurt would take long to heal, and only his great-grandchildren, he thought, would see the Shire as it ought to be. Now, in the picture here, you can see a tree that has been cut down. You can also see, if you look carefully, some pencil marks on the trunk. And if you look very carefully, you can see some numbers, and these show you how old the tree was, how much growing it had to do. For every ring you can count a year, and you can see this particular tree must be over 150 years old by the time it was chopped down. Then suddenly one day he remembered the gift of Galadriel, Lady of the Elves. He brought the box out and showed it to Frodo and asked his advice. "I wondered when you would think of it," said Frodo. "Open it." Inside it was filled with a grey dust, soft and fine, in the middle of which was a seed, like a small nut with a silver shell. "What can I do with this?" said Sam. "Use all the wits and knowledge you have of your own, Sam," said Frodo, "and then use the gift to help your work and better it, and use it sparingly. There is not much here, and I expect every grain has value." So Sam planted saplings in all the places where specially beautiful trees had been destroyed, and he put a grain of the precious dust in the soil at the root of each. He went up and down the Shire in this labour, and at the end he found he still had a little of the dust left, so he went to the 3-farthing stone, which is as near the centre of the Shire as no matter, and cast it in the air. All through the winter he remained as patient as he could, and tried to restrain himself from going round constantly to see if anything was happening. Spring surpassed his wildest hopes. His trees began to sprout and grow as if time was in a hurry and wished to make 1 year do for 20. Altogether, 1420 in the Shire was a marvellous year. Not only was there wonderful sunshine and delicious rain in due times and perfect measure, but there seemed something more, an air of richness and growth, and a gleam of beauty beyond that of mortal summers that flicker and pass upon this middle earth. All the children born in that year, and there were many, were fair to see and strong, and most of them had a rich golden hair that had before been rare among hobbits. The fruit was so plentiful that young hobbits very nearly bathed in strawberries and cream, and later they sat in the lawns under the plum trees and ate until they had made piles of stones like small pyramids or the heaped skulls of Conqueror, and then they moved on. And no one was ill, and everyone was pleased, except those who had to mow the grass.